Good morning. Well, another day in Trump tariff land. What did you expect? This man changes his mind, or I should say, Taco changes his mind like an express train, headed for a wreck. Now he has doubled the tariffs on steel, and everybody's waiting to wonder what Canada will do in response. Well, as the American people now realize, probably in a very harsh way, tariffs are not the answer, because the country that applies a tariff, its consumers wind up paying for. So prices are going up all over the United States. And this is what led into 1929 and the Great Depression, was this continuous tariffing. And with consumers with the little buying power that they have left, things are starting to fall apart. And as a matter of fact, things are falling apart very rapidly for Donald Trump, because people are starting to see a lot of the illegal stuff that he's doing with his cryptocurrency and some of the other profiteering that's been going on by MAGA Republicans on the stock market that are sitting in the House that should not be profiting at all. I mean, Martha Stewart went to jail for this. If you're a politician, you should be going to jail for this because you know better. I think the thing that Canada should be doing, and again, there's this lag, and don't worry about selling steel to the Americans. We have so much to build here, it's not even funny. So Canadian steel goes into Canadian buildings. Canadian steel goes into building high-speed rail and other railways. Canadian steel, we have tons of things that we can use for Canadian steel. Canada has to deal with a severe infrastructure problem that it has not dealt with in years, and the infrastructure is falling apart. Our roads are a mess. That's a good place for the oil and natural gas. They need it for asphalt. There's tons of things that we can be doing. And with the oil prices so low, and us not making the type of money, put it to good use. Put it to good use. The problem with the government that we have today, and it's not only the Liberals, the Conservatives are just as much to blame for the same thing. So I'm not going center, I'm not going left, I'm going right. They're all to blame because they're thinking very short term. And you cannot think short term in these types of situations. You have to think very long term. And what's long term for Canada? Basically economic independence. We can no longer trust the United States government because this will not go away. Trump is already guaranteeing it's not going to go away. And the American people, who will still see this, will just get baited again. The midterm elections are still well over a year away. Do you think it's going to matter? Probably not. You see, nothing's going to change. So Canada needs to think long-term, huge objectives, and the development back to probably the 50s, 60s, and 70s where we were at after the war and what was built up before then. Now, obviously, we don't have to worry about the reliance on coal. I remember when I moved to Toronto back in the 1980s, the buildings were still covered with soot. I mean, Maple Leaf Gardens, if you look at it very carefully, still has the soot line from the sandblasting that they never ever did complete. But here's the thing. We have to be strong, we have to be free, we have to be independent. And that, Mr. Carney, is not, and I should say even Mr. Polyev, is not just the private sector. The public sector has to get involved in this too. If we're going to build a strong and independent Canada, the public sector also has to step up. And that's not providing tax breaks, that's not providing incentives, that's providing capital that stays in this country and gets circulated back into the economy of this country. It used to be one day that we could say proudly in the 1960s and 70s that we had several crown corporations that put money back into the hands of Canadians, or in the case of the Canadian government, but went into programming. So, I mean, it's time. Now, we have to look forward to a lot of things. And you know what? It's going to be a great summer. I mean, the fires are going now. That's one thing that we could use a lot of the stuff that we produce for, is building water bombers to put out the fires that are going on at an alarming rate. But let's build an economy that's good for every Canadian. The fact is that Trump still does not understand that he's saying he's bringing the factories back. He can't do it. They won't do it. I think if you look very carefully at the marketplace, you realize, I mean, anybody with half a brain rubbing together would realize that markets are built where there are people, and the majority of people live in China, India, and Indochina. That's your marketplace. The investors want to keep it there because of cheaper labor and there's little regulatory control over what they do. So they're not coming back, Donald. You can tariff them all you want. You're just going to make the American people pay more. And please, Mr. Carney, and please, Mr. Polyev, leave the tariffs alone in this country. Canadians are paying enough. We can get by. What you need is a corporate flat tax so that they don't escape through the continuous window of offshore investments and corporate welfare. You have a good day, everybody. Hoping you have a great week. We'll talk to you later. I'm the Outlaw from Outlaw Radio 1960. Have a good day.